From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, it's a Wednesday night. Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into our 23rd year. And, of course, seen on cleveland.com as well as simulcast on Spectrum Sports. We'll tell you a little bit more about that in the next segment. You can call us at 216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can see at the top of your screen, we are telling you, top left of your screen, that the programming on this channel will cease on 12/31/18. You can find local news, weather, and sports on Spectrum News 1. That's Spectrum News 1. The only place you'll be able to find us starting next Wednesday night will be right here on cleveland.com. We'll tell you more about that. And speaking of cleveland.com, Dan Lobby, who covers the Browns, does a great job for cleveland.com, is with us. You weathered the snow today. Oh, no, there's no snow.
No snow. No, it was cold enough, though, you know.
I was thinking I was at the Browns game. Now, in the press box, so I wasn't suffering in the cold, although it wasn't very cold out there. There was enough liquid refreshment that everybody was warmed up a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. Enough celebrating. People were having fun.
But I'm wondering that you always hear about the AFC North and you have to draft players that can play in the mud and the snow. What mud and what snow?
I know. It's the weather has been great aside from, you know, a few games here or there.
Right.
Although on games like Sunday, I like to get in touch with our photographers who are always down on the field and remind them how warm we are up in the press box while they suffer through whatever weather is going on.
Get the job done quickly so you can do that. We used to call that back in the day Modell weather, that somehow it could be terrible all week when Art Modell owned the team, and then all of a sudden on Sunday for 3 hours it was fine. Fine.
Had a way of doing that, I guess.
All right, help me out here. You were out at Berea today, the press conference for, weekly press conference for Greg Williams. What did he look like a man, for lack of a different term, but dead man walking, or did he look like he's confident he's getting the job, or is he just the same guy and you don't know what he's thinking, or he doesn't know what he's thinking?
I mean, you use the term dead man walking, and I haven't gotten that sense from him at all ever since he took over after 8 games. I mean, he came in and changed some things in practice, changed the way they do things in practice.
Stop right there for a minute. What could he have changed, or what did he change?
Well, based on what we see, and we only see about 20 to 30 minutes, you know, one of the things that stands out is there's no music when they stretch now. You know, there used to be music when they stretched, and it was actually a big part of Hard Knocks, too. A couple of like Todd Haley and Bob Wiley talked about the music, and
it was huge.
There's no music when they stretch
Mangini
now.
was here, he did it because he wanted the players to get used to playing with noise as you would on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if they still do the crowd noise or not. I'm sure they do pipe that in on occasion, but that's gone. He's also added some competition periods. I was talking to Chris Smith, the defensive end, on Sunday, and he was telling me about the competition periods that they run. They do one to start practice. They do a few in practice. It's ones versus ones, which you don't get a lot during the season,
and they
it's
actually
really
hit each
competitive.
other, right?
I don't know how much hitting they actually do. I do think there is more contact under Williams than there was under Hugh Jackson, but you know, they're also governed by the CBA, which doesn't allow a ton of hitting. But I do think it's more physical.
When you're out for those 30 minutes or so, are you here? Is the head coach Greg Williams yelling more, or is he more calm than he was as just the defensive coordinator?
You actually don't hear him as much. You heard him a lot more when he was the defensive coordinator. Yelling guys, you know, you still hear him yelling guys on the defensive side to go station to station because they do different stations. But you don't hear him quite as much.
Maybe that's what the extra work or extra baggage that a head coach has than a coordinator. Maybe he's thinking about what color uniforms they're going to wear, or what, you know, I don't know, what time we're going to fly out to their to the game at Baltimore. I mean, that's the kind of stuff he would worry about.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot more on his plate from a media obligation standpoint, from all the stuff you mentioned, some things he has to worry about, and I just think he has to carry himself a little differently. I'm
starting to hear more about Paul DePodesta. Is there more? Is he here more? Is he involved more? What's his role right now as opposed to what it was 2 years ago?
You know, I still see about the same amount of Paul DePodesta that I've seen. Now, I never saw him a lot around the building, and I do think he still does a lot. Well, he's over in California. I don't think he's in the building every single day.
It seems to be a good job to have.
Yeah, right? Wouldn't we all love that job? But, you know, he's around. I see him at games. I see him in the locker room after games, home, road. He is certainly around the team. I saw him in the press box on Sunday talking to one of the executives with the Browns. So he's still definitely around and still involved.
And what kind of decisions is he? He's not making, let's go for it on 4th down. He's not making those kind of decisions,
no,
I would hope.
No, I don't think he's doing that stuff, but he is sort of running an analytics department of sorts. And
during
I do
the
think,
game?
Probably not during the game. You know, he's not like in the booth telling Greg Williams, hey, you should go for it here.
Right.
But I do think you know, you go back to some of the decisions to trade draft picks a couple of years ago. I think a lot of that was part of him, you know, studying that stuff and deciding that future assets was more important. And those are the sorts of things that he kind of informs. How much is a certain draft pick worth? How much is, you know, a player versus a pick? Things like that.
And with the kind of money involved with the salary cap, that'll probably come into play more in this offseason than it's come in a long time.
Yeah, and they have a ton of cap money this offseason. But the other thing you always have to think about is you went so young 2 years ago, and obviously that wasn't John Dorsey, but you went so young 2 years ago. You're going to have some guys that are starting to come up for extensions.
Right.
You know, I think the 2016 draft picks actually are eligible for extensions now. The first-round picks have options for 5 years, but there's some guys that are going to be coming up for extensions that are going to have room for.
Do you have names?
Well, you know, Joe Schobert is a guy who will be up for a big raise. Yeah, you certainly don't want to lose him. We saw what this defense looked like without him. He's a difference maker. Eventually, Myles Garrett. Now, he's only in year 2, but eventually Myles Garrett is going to have to get paid. A guy like Emmanuel Ogbah is going to be really interesting.
Is that a bad thing that many of them come up at the same time, or a good thing?
If you manage it, I think it's fine. It's just sort of the nature of the business. And the cap keeps going up and up. Now, we know how these things work. That can change drastically. But right now, there's plenty of money.
Could they make deals now on these guys who might be 2 or 3 years away?
It just depends. So I believe this year the 2016 draft picks would be eligible. Now for a guy like Myles Garrett, who was a 2017 pick, you get 4 years and then you get an option year. So those are really valuable years. Those first 5 years are so valuable for a team. So there's no rush with those.
216-575-0403. Dan Lobby from cleveland.com is with us on cleveland.com. I want to thank John Staley, who is directing our show tonight. John has been with me for a long, long time, starting back in 1998, and he opened with Cablevision, and he brought a cake to get us started. And now that he will be maybe not fully part of this new venture that we have, he brought a cake to finish us off. You can't leave without some cake.
I'll definitely eat some cake.
Let them eat
sticking
cake.
Around.
Chocolate, vanilla.
Well, you could keep me here for 4 hours if it meant I got cake.
That's what somebody says. Do you want chocolate chip cookies? That isn't the question. It's how many chocolate chip cookies do you want?
Exactly.
216-575-0403. When we get back, we'll show you, if you don't know how to get onto cleveland.com. Even I can do that, and we'll show you how to do that just in a few minutes. Let's check out MS&LL headlines for the day. Brought to you by our friends at Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. Cavs are at Memphis for the start of a 3-game set on the road. They've got Atlanta and Miami after that. Ohio State arrives in California to just have some fun before they get going into the Rose Bowl. Dan, before your time, when Woody Hayes would take them to the Rose Bowl, he'd take them out just a couple days before, and the hotel was a monastery. You can just imagine what that was like. Tribe's still looking. They want to make a deal. Could be at the, after the first of the year. I don't think they want to wait till they get into spring training on that. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/more sports and Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. A little bit later, we'll show you some of the responses to that, to the upcoming game that people joined us on Facebook. We wanted to know your prediction for Sunday's game against the Ravens, and we'll have some of the responses a little bit later on the show. We're going to take a break. We'll come on back. If you're concerned how to find us on cleveland.com, we'll show you when we get back right here on More Sports and Les Levine. Still this week is our final week with Spectrum Sports, but we are continuing on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I had bad credit, so I wasn't able to get a bank account or a credit card.
My life is so busy, I don't have time to be standing in line to cash a check.
That's why we created the NetsBand Prepaid MasterCard. It puts you in control of managing your money.
I can get my money up to 2 days earlier than everybody else. I don't have to wait till the end of the week to get paid.
Order now at no cost and get paid up to 2 days faster.
Call 1-800-644-0772.
Call now and you can choose your card design.
Check out birthdays for today. Al Milner was born on this date. Glenn Davis, the great, yeah, is that Mr. Outside or Mr. Inside, or one of those two. Carlton Fisk, I was at his induction ceremony, and I think he just finished his speech. It's the longest speech in the history of speeches. Rick Shaw, 1947. Chris Chambliss, seen on the left. Look how thin he looks. Ozzie Smith, one of the well, he's a Hall of Famer. And if he's there, I say Omar should be there, but that's another story for another date. Got an email from Joe in Florida. He says, I'm so excited to hear about the new venture. As a Florida snowbird, I would lose contact with your show, which when we're here in Concord, Ohio, I watch each and every day. Over the past years, I have refused to change my cable company since I would lose contact with the show, but now you'll be able to have contact through cleveland.com. We thank you for that, Joe. Why would you get out of Concord? It's when they say snowbelt, they mean the N in Concord.
Yeah.
That's right.
Pretty much.
Yeah, my nephew lives in Concord, and I think his house is, when they say snow watching the snowbelt, they mean it. Brett's house.
Yeah, his house is pretty much buried in snow.
It is.
November
If you could find his house, no question about it. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. All right, so this Friday, well, this Thursday, that's tomorrow, Bud Shaw will be with us, and then Dave Bacon will have his show on Friday night. That'll be the last show on Spectrum Sports at that time, because you can see on the upper left of your screen, Spectrum Sports will no longer exist after the 31st of December. Now, if you're a follower of more Sports and Les Levine, see if you can follow along right here. As you can see on the screen above you, Spectrum Sports will no longer exist, and that's in a few days. This is one of the reasons we've partnered up with cleveland.com. More Sports and Les Levine will continue on cleveland.com from 6 until 7, Monday through Friday. I'll be here Monday through Thursday, then Dave takes over on Friday. You can find us on cleveland.com, and it's easy to actually find us. What you do is you type in the computer, you type in www.cleveland.com/sports. There you see it right there. You can write it down if you'd like, or it's pretty easy to find. Find the More Sports and Les Levine icon on the right-hand side of the page. There's a bunch of icons right there, and coming up shortly as we scroll down, you'll see a picture of me. That'll tell you that you're in the right place to find More Sports and Les Levine. And you just keep scrolling down, and there you go. On the right side there you see More Sports and Les Levine, and all you do is have to hit on that, and you'll get the current show, and it'll be archived. You can click on the icon, and it'll take you to the archive page. The most recent episode will be at the top of the page. You click on the show you want to watch. If you missed if you're on a Wednesday and you miss a show from Monday, you can watch it very easily just by clicking on it. It'll take you right to that spot. Click on the show you want to watch, then click the play button on the video to start watching the show. There you see the play video right in the middle, and you hit it, and it starts scrolling just like that and revving up and streaming. And the next thing you know, the Tonight Show will come on. All right, so there you go. All shows will be archived on cleveland.com. You can view them whenever your schedule allows. So you people my age, even you people can find it. You have grandparents?
I do.
And do they have any clue how to?
I think they could find it.
If you said, Grandma, I'm going to be on More Sports and Les Levine on cleveland.com, they can find it?
Probably. Now,
good for them.
My mom might be another issue. I don't even know if she knows how to find my stories, so that's okay. But
do you still, from the VCR, do you still have the 000 on it or 12?
Yeah, just the flashing 12. Of course.
Of course. Who doesn't have that? 216. So that's it. If you have any questions, ask your grandchildren. They'll tell you easily. 216. 575-0403 is the number. Dan Lobby here from cleveland.com. Bud Shaw will be here tomorrow night, and then no show on Monday or Tuesday. That's Christmas Eve day and Christmas Eve. So that's Monday and Tuesday. New Year's. I'm sorry, New Year's day, New Year's Eve and day. That's Monday and Tuesday. So we'll be back next Wednesday of next week. That confuses me. Okay, Dan Lobby is here. The most often asked question, and again, I've been doing a lot of radio. I'll be on 92.3 The Fan tomorrow and Friday from 10 until 2. You can do 20 hours a day of who's the next coach.
Right.
So who's the next coach?
I wish I knew. I think Greg Williams has certainly put himself in the running.
Right.
I don't know.
He was not in the running 2 months ago.
No, I don't think he was. I don't think there was any idea that after 8 weeks, I think it was just get us through this second half of the season. Don't mess up Baker Mayfield. And then we'll figure it out from there. But Greg Williams has put himself in that conversation. I think Freddie Kitchens has put himself in the conversation.
Nobody ever heard of Freddie Kitchens.
Right? He hadn't even called plays except for in a preseason game. Right. And then all of a sudden...
Now he's talking about being a head coach.
Yeah.
Here or somewhere. What do you envision? What if they don't go... Well, on Sunday when that game is over, they can't just hand him, even if he wins by 20 points, they can't say, here's your contract for 5 years after this. They still have to go through the search committee, don't they?
I believe they have to conduct some sort of search. But, they could make the decision to take the interim tag off, and I would imagine that would happen quickly if they wanted to do that. Yeah.
It may be the wrong thing, but it would be easy.
That would be easy to do. If they feel like that continuity is what they need, then that would probably be the decision they make. I don't think that's the decision they're going to make. But
now, if you want to make the decision for next year, that might be it. But if you're looking 5 years down the road, probably that isn't it.
Yeah, that's the issue. You have to decide, is what Greg Williams has done perfect for what he stepped into, which is an 8-week run as a head coach for a team that just needed some discipline and direction. And of course, Freddie Kitchens is a big reason why that's happened. His play calling and relationship with Baker Mayfield, he deserves a lot of credit too. And those are the decisions John Dorsey has to make. And I don't think Greg Williams is the right choice if we are talking the next 5, you hope 10 years.
And why is that?
I just don't know if his style fits necessarily. I think he's a guy that, again, for a short stretch has been really effective. But I wonder if his style and the way he kind of puts it, we talked about the practices and things like that, that can wear thin as a team gets older and you don't just have a bunch of young guys.
That's when you hear the excuse, well, they get tired of hearing the same message.
Exactly.
That's what that would be. Let's go to the phones. Let's see what BP and Pepper Pike has to say. Hello, BP.
Hey, Les and Dan, how are you guys?
We're doing well. What's on your mind?
Good. Well, this whole Browns coaching thing is really, very intriguing because, the Browns can go so many different directions, and the Browns are really trending up. I really believe that the Browns, had made the playoffs. I think they could have been a dangerous team in these playoffs where I think they could, win a game. I'm not saying they'll go to the Super Bowl, but I think they really could have been. Well,
I know this, BP. Nobody wants to play them right now.
Yeah. And I think they would have been matched up against the Houston Texans, hypothetically, if they had made the playoff bracket. And I think they could have, they lost to Houston down there, but that's all hypothetical. But going back to the coaching conundrum, I really think it's going to go 3 different ways. Either the Browns will retain Greg Williams and Freddie Kitchens and just move forward, or they might reach out to Bruce Arians, or maybe number 3, go with Mike McCarthy. I don't think Lincoln Riley. I don't think he's not interested in this job here in Cleveland, maybe with the Dallas Cowboys job opened up. I just don't think that guy.
Although you would think he'd want to coach with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, but I think, these guys in college have it so good. They make millions of dollars. They're going to be in the top 10 every year. It's almost pretty much a guaranteed, layup. And, the pro football, you're hired to get fired. And just like, we saw that. The Cavs and the Browns basically firing their coach on the same day back in a couple months ago.
When I hear that the New York Jets are even thinking of hiring Harbaugh, and he gets $7 million a year from Michigan, to think that they would say, when they said they would offer more than that. So let's say it's $9 or $10 million. A 5-year deal, don't you almost have to take that?
It would be really tempting. I mean, John Gruden got 10 years and $100 million from the Raiders. I'm sure some owner out there would just back up the Brinks truck for some of these guys. But I think BP makes some great points about the life of a college coach. You can recruit the best players. You can make a ton of money at that level now.
Yeah, but wouldn't you hate recruiting at this point?
Maybe. I mean, that's the thing about being a college coach. You have to love recruiting.
They also have assistant coaches. They've got, to do all the recruiting. Like even guys like Zach Smith, who was obviously fired from Ohio State. He was a guy that was on the recruiting trail a lot. So, Urban Meyer wasn't doing all, the heavy lifting.
No, they were presenting him with the right guys. He'd go in and finish them off or make the closing part of the deal. I mean, if you're Urban Meyer, recruiting is a little bit different than somebody in the top 40, let's say.
But even, Lincoln Riley, I don't think he's coming to the Browns. I mean, maybe if the Dallas Cowboys job opened up or some other, the New Orleans Saints.
BP, could you live with this? Could you live with Bruce Arians as the head coach and Greg Williams is the defensive coordinator and Kitchens is the offensive coordinator? I'm not sure if Greg Williams could live with it, but could you as a fan?
Yeah, and that's really my ideal scenario, because then you've got Bruce Arians has been he's actually advocated for this job. There's not many people that want to be a head coach here in Cleveland.
Right.
He's had success taking underdog teams really far in the playoffs. I mean, I never thought his Arizona teams had that much talent, and he got a lot out of those teams. Same thing in Indianapolis. He got a lot out of the talent. I think, Greg Williams, I hate to lose the momentum that this guy has brought to the team. I just hate to throw that away. This guy could go 6-2. We haven't seen 6 wins in 3 years here combined.
Yeah, but you know what? There may be 6 or 8 job openings, head coaching jobs. I don't see him even interviewing, maybe interviewing, but I don't see him getting a job somewhere else. It's ironic. As well as he's done, he may close himself out by, if he doesn't get this one, he doesn't get any.
I mean, we saw on Hard Knocks, Greg Williams can be a difficult kind of guy, but it seems like he sort of shined himself up to be the head coach and CEO of a billion-dollar entity.
Right.
So to me, it's going to be fascinating, and I trust, like a lot of the fans do, in John Dorsey, that he's going to get this right. And that's what, Les. What is your prediction for the head coach?
You know what? Until they start naming names who they're talking to, because some guys are dropping off, some guys are being added. I feel like you do. When I look at what Dorsey has done in the personnel department, why shouldn't I believe he knows what he's doing, even though he hasn't picked a coach yet for any team? Why wouldn't he know what he's doing based on what he is doing here?
What do you think about Mike McCarthy from Green Bay?
I wouldn't be thrilled with that.
Because I saw that he's got about 10 or 11 playoff wins. They posted that under one of the games I saw over the weekend.
Right.
So that's a lot more playoff wins than we've seen here in
Yeah,
decades.
no, I know. You can make an argument for everybody both ways. BP, I got to go. Have a happy New Year if I don't talk to you.
You too. Thanks,
Good to talk to you. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. And you can follow them, Wednesday through Sunday with the live racing. That's at 6 p.m. Northfield Park is open every day for simulcast action for the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. It's free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. Dan Lobby and I return in a moment right here on Spectrum Sports for this week only, and of course, cleveland.com.
When my dad started NatureStone, he created a solution for age-old concrete problems: unevenness, cracking, pitting, and more. NatureStone solves all of these problems in garages, basements, and outdoor spaces. NatureStone is beautiful, environmentally friendly, and affordable. Plus, NatureStone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Call or go to naturestone.com to schedule your free in-home estimate today and get up to 50% off.
NatureStone, the only concrete solution.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
There is a place where dreams arise, stars are born, is made. What you live for lives here. Spectrum Sports.
More Sports and Les Levine is now available on cleveland.com. To watch, type in cleveland.com/sports into your browser, then click on the More Sports and Les Levine icon, and the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason is available 24/7 from any computer. You can watch live from 6 to 7 Monday through Friday, or catch taped editions anytime on cleveland.com. For a How Come Quickie, you know the bookstore Half Price Books?
I do.
How can they have a sale?
No.
The half price.
That's a steal, though.
Hey, it is a steal. 20% off half price. You can't figure that out. 216-575-0403 is the number. Dan Lobby from cleveland.com is with us. And Greg Williams talked today about where his team, it's his team at least for another couple of days, where his team stands at this point in the season.
Well, the biggest thing is that we're, and again, you guys have seen that one statistical crew I've told you about how we play per play, and you guys can go in and analyze and take a look at that, in the Football Outsiders. They understand that too, and how we go about and how good we're playing play by play by play, no matter what the situation is. And you want to completely, be suffocating. You got to be able to finish it with taking the ball away, and you got to score on defense, and we got to continue to do those type of things.
Greg, would you say that on some opponents your defense concedes rushing yards because that's
No, we don't concede anything at any time. No.
In terms of Baker Mayfield's development, finishing out and closing out the season against the best defense in the NFL, do you think that will give him a very good...
Those are good things, maybe in the postseason evaluate, but we really think about that each and every week, and then you can do all the comparisons and the rankings and all that kind of stuff later on. But we do understand, how good they have been and then how good we have to be. That's important.
Boy, Greg Williams' hair, the gray shock of hair just gets grayer and grayer each week.
It does. That's what being a head coach will do. That's why Lincoln Riley might not want to come up here.
Maybe. He at least looks young every time you see Lincoln. Let's take a look at this great strong rookie season by Baker Mayfield in 13 games, 287 completions, 444 attempts, and the yards 33-49. Look at that's a pretty good ratio, 24 touchdowns to 11 interceptions.
Yeah, and you had those 3 interceptions against Houston in the first half.
Right.
And bounced back well in that. Early in the year, you had a couple games where maybe he doesn't throw those picks with a little bit of experience.
Right. Exactly.
So I think that interception number is always, or at least it has the possibility to always be low during his
Do you think
career.
a lot of it has to do with when they met with him and said, what don't you like? What do you like? What do you want to go with? Do you think that's part of the confidence that he's built up? Because he does, as good as he looked when he came on in the New York Jets game, he looks so much more confident right now.
Yeah, and it really has just been simple situations where they've given guys opportunities to do what they do best. I mean, with Jarvis Landry, in that game on Sunday early on, him and Baker weren't on the same page. So they call a little throwback to him, a simple play, gets the ball in Jarvis's hands, gives Baker an easy throw, and then all of a sudden, a few plays later, Baker hits Jarvis for a 4th down conversion. And it's little things like that we've seen since Kitchens has taken over.
Yeah, and the little things are, when you watch other games, they seem to make easy throws and easy catches, and guys are open by a lot.
Yeah.
The Browns are now starting to look like that. They haven't looked like that. I can't tell you how long it is. It's just when Baker throws the ball, there's a guy wide open in a slot. In fact, you're wondering why he didn't get to him earlier and maybe get more runs after the catch.
Yeah,
or more yards after the catch.
Yeah, and you're seeing more motion pre-snap, which so many teams in the NFL have turned to, and you're just seeing a little more creativity in the play calling. Sometimes it goes overboard. We've seen some mistakes here and there when they've tried to do a little too much, but it just does look easier.
Well, what really looked easy was a left-handed pass by by a guy who was supposed to catch balls, not throw them. Jarvis Landry you're talking about.
Yeah,
that
and he missed one earlier this year too.
He did, but part of it is you don't expect I don't know how many of the guys on the defense knew that he was a left-handed thrower. He's moving to the left, and if they're thinking he's a righty, he's not going to spin and throw the ball.
Yeah, he's moving to his left, has plenty of time, and I'll tell you what, there were a couple other guys that were wide open on that play, and he was going to take a shot. He was going deep to Perriman the whole time.
The one he went to was less open than two other guys that were underneath.
Mean, it was covered pretty well.
Yeah. How are these guys? You're in the locker room, right?
Yeah.
And just to you as an observer, what are you observing this camaraderie, this different approach, or is the locker room looking the same as it always did?
It does seem like a close locker room. It seems like these guys do like each other, and they really do get along with each other. You kind of see, I mean, you see that when teams are winning.
Right.
Not all the time, but a lot of times you do, especially
well,
with
what
the young
you also
team.
see is players in the locker room, because sometimes when they say,
Exactly.
when you're 2-9, and they say, okay, you can see the players at 1:30, there's nobody, they just happen to be in the training room.
Yeah, or 0-14, like a year ago. You go in there and they're in the players'
everybody?
lounge, they're getting treatment, they have a phone interview to do someplace else.
Right.
You don't see a lot of guys show up in that locker room.
So you don't pose as a player and let them interview you?
I've thought about it, but I don't think I would pass.
Did you see the holiday card that the special team guys put on?
Yes,
pretty
I
cute.
did. And that's an interesting, I talked to Britton Colquitt a few weeks ago for a story, and that's such a bizarre corner of the locker room, because those three guys are together all the time, and they're sort of separated from the rest of the team in a lot of ways, and it's just kind of funny to see those three interact. So that card was a lot of fun.
Out of the clear blue, I got a Christmas card from Jimmy Haslam. He must not watch the show.
I guess not. Or he's in a good mood like everybody else.
Absolutely. I've not been critical of him. I will be if he decides to walk into the room with Dorsey and say, okay, I'll take it from here on the coaching search.
Yeah, you stay out of the way. I got this.
Then I'll say, delete my address from your
you can
list.
send the card back.
Right. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. Bud Shaw will join us tomorrow. Dan Lobby is with us right now on Spectrum Sports through tomorrow, and of course right here on cleveland.com. Back in a moment with more sports and Les Levine.
Smile. No matter how well you provide for your family today, if you don't have life insurance, their future may be at risk. Why not help guarantee those you love $250,000 or more with life insurance through AIG Direct? Less than $14 a month buys a 40-year-old man a $250,000 term life policy. That's up to 3 times what you can get from other companies for the same price. Make the future more secure for those you love.
Call 1-800-723-9758.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
This is a pretty good date in sports history for the Cleveland Browns. Same date, December 26, 1954. Otto Graham scores 3 touchdowns, throws for 3 more. Browns win the NFL title 56-10 over the Detroit Lions. The two teams battled it out quite a bit through the 50s. 1955, the next year, Browns intercept 6 passes, and they beat the Los Angeles Rams 38-14 to win the NFL title. How about that? Seemed easy back then.
It did. And you had championship games in December. You didn't have to wait until February.
Right. And you have Otto Graham, you have a pretty good chance. For those who don't know much about Otto Graham, he went to 10 consecutive finals or division championship games, part of them with the All-American Football Conference, and then, of course, into the NFL. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. And let's take a look at the question of the day from Facebook. We asked you what your prediction was for Sunday's game, as the Browns are going to be taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Let's take a look at what you had to say. You have Glenn Berger saying the Ravens defense is too strong for the Browns. Ravens 23, Browns 10, but I hope I'm wrong. Mary Kay Reese, we haven't heard from Mary Kay in a long time. 28-10, Browns over the Ravens. Doesn't say why. She just thinks that's going to be it. Ravens 3, Browns 3, Frank Oswald. Well, that won't be much of a game.
No.
Wow. And Gerard Morelli, the Browns hate the Steelers too much to help them out. That was our topic of the day on 92.3 today, that who you're rooting for or against. You want the Browns to win, and if that's the case, then Baltimore is out, most probably, because Pittsburgh would have to beat Cincinnati, which they should do fairly easily. You have a choice of who you want?
I mean, if I'm a Browns fan, I want to see the Browns win. Yeah. That's kind of how I look at it.
And I'd like to see it to beat out Baltimore more than as much as I hate Pittsburgh. Baltimore, if you recall, I believe had something to do with the Browns team moving in 95.
That's what I hear, yeah.
You might have heard about it.
You
read about it in your books. So that one will be tough for me to handle. 216-575-0403. Let's take a look at what the Browns have been doing in the last 6 games, which in the NFL is a big chunk of the season. You see the Browns' 5-1 record during that. Who would have figured that, a 5-1 record in the last 6 games? Averaging 24.2 to 19.8. Yards per game, 391 to 335. Passing yardage, 270 to 232. And they're handling their opponents in every one of these categories, including rushing yards, 120.3 against 102.8. So I'll ask you this: if Tyrod Taylor does not get hurt in Game 3, how long do they stick with him? I mean, do we even see Baker Mayfield?
I had a feeling we would see Baker Mayfield at some point this season, regardless. Right. Even though the Browns kind of were staying strong with this stance that they were going to play Tyrod, and that's how it was going to be. I felt like we were going to see him halfway through the season, maybe before Thanksgiving. The bye week would have been a good time. Had they lost that Jets game, though, let's say Tyrod doesn't get hurt and they lose that game, I think there would have been some
0-3, right?
Pressure building. 1-1. They would have been 0-1-1.
Yeah.
I think there would have been some pressure building to maybe put Baker Mayfield in. I think we would have seen him, but I think what we've learned is, and some people felt this way before it happened, I think what we learned is Baker was probably ready to start Week 1 if that's the direction the Browns wanted to go.
When we go into the offseason, as we analyze this past year, do we say that the decision not to start Baker was an organizational one as opposed to a Hugh Jackson one or a John Dorsey one?
I think it was an organizational decision. I do think Hugh Jackson had a role in that decision, but I believe it was an organizational decision. I think John Dorsey was working with what happened with Patrick Mahomes and sitting him for that full year.
Seemed to work.
Yeah, exactly. Green Bay did that with Aaron Rodgers, and of course you have guys with that Green Bay background. I think it was an organizational decision. But I do believe that not giving Baker first-team reps was a mistake, and I think that was a Hugh Jackson decision. And I also think that had he opened it up a little bit, maybe Baker could have made his case a little better, and maybe organization-wide they would have changed their mind.
So what do you think the public display of whatever that Baker Mayfield is doing to Hugh Jackson, what is that all about?
I just think I feel like he was probably pretty close with Todd Haley because, those two work together a lot.
Right.
And we know about the divide that was there between Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley. And I think Baker probably grew close to Todd Haley. It's part of why he's so close with Freddie Kitchens. Because Freddie Kitchens
Same offense.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been sort of a Todd Haley, not disciple, but he sort of followed him around. So I think that's part of it. And I just think Baker Mayfield wasn't happy with Hugh Jackson's decision to go to Cincinnati, 2 weeks after getting fired.
Okay, as Cleveland fans, we think that's cute, doing that, whatever he did, the backpedaling to Hugh Jackson. The reality is it's not necessarily a classy game. Do you think a classy thing to do? Do you think Baker will understand that and calm it down or bring it back, rein it in a little bit? Or do you think as long as Hugh Jackson is around, then then Baker's going to be doing that kind of stuff?
You know, I think as long as Hugh Jackson is around, or at least for the next few years, if, let's say, he somehow, for some reason, takes that Cincinnati head coaching job or gets that Cincinnati head coaching job, I think it will be a story, and I think Baker will kind of continue to make it a story. Ultimately, though, this team should have bigger goals than just beating Hugh Jackson and kind of trying to rub that in Hugh Jackson's nose over and over again.
Move over on that with Hugh Jackson. Yeah. Hugh Jackson takes that job. Could they go 0-16?
I mean, they could. We've seen that team. We've seen that team twice.
Wow.
I mean, I guess Andy Dalton will be back.
Wins are wins, though.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't care who you get them against. 216-575-0403. It's a win at Sokolowski's University Inn every time you go there. And they all wish you a great holiday season and into 2019. I can't believe that already, 2019. But just a couple of years ago, Mike and Bernie Sokolowski, the winner of the James Beard Foundation Award. Only 5 restaurants a year get it. To the best of my knowledge, they're the only ones in Cleveland who's ever gotten it. Chef Jonathan Sawyer got it one time, but as far as the restaurants are concerned, it's Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn. 5 minutes out of downtown, plenty of free parking, and open 11 to 3 Monday through Friday and Saturday nights for dinner. My good friends, Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn. We'll come back in a moment, right here on Spectrum, as well as, of course, cleveland.com.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Naturestone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Naturestone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Plus, it has a higher insulation rating than carpet and is warmer than linoleum, vinyl, wood, or tile.
Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today and get up to 50% off.
Naturestone is the affordable basement floor solution that beautifies your home. Naturestone, the only concrete solution.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Let's take a look at this date in Les Levine history, December 26, 1955. After watching the Browns win 2 titles in a row, Les confidently tells his dad, I think we're going to just win every year until we get to the 21st century.
You're close.
Yeah, I was. It's a similar situation with the Indians. As a youngster, I went to Game 4 of the 1954 World Series. I said to my father, how come everybody's upset? He says, well, they just got swept. I said, well, we'll win it next year. Well, that was in 1954. I'm still waiting. I was close.
Yeah.
I was close. It seemed easy back in those days.
Still take your victory laps if they win one here in the next few years.
Absolutely. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. And today we had a chance to listen in on Greg Williams, interim head coach of the Cleveland Browns. He talked about one of the 2 Heisman Trophy winners in there. Of course, one is Baker Mayfield. The other is the Heisman Trophy winner, Lamar Jackson.
Don't disregard his arm strength. You know, he can throw it a long way too. And then, they do a lot of good jobs in the run game, and especially the play action run game when you're compensating so hard in the run game that all of a sudden he understands how to fake a guy open and get somebody else open, and he's been able to do a good job and improve each week with throwing the route concepts that they're asking him to do. So at this level, it takes a while for anybody to get ready for the speed of the game, and including him, and then us having to get ready for the speed of him. But he's thrown the ball better and better each week.
Well, here's Lamar Jackson this season: 85 receptions, 146 attempts, 10,022 yards, 6 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and of course 127 carries, 605 yards. You got to watch for him. 3 TDs on the run that you saw on TV. 216-575-0403 is the number. Again, I want to remind you, as you see on the top left of your screen, programming on this channel will cease on 12/31/18, and you can find local news, weather, and sports on Spectrum News 1. But I mentioned Spectrum earlier, and I didn't get a chance, and I've got it now to thank them for giving me the opportunity to do it, to continue more Sports and Les Levine. I believe it's been 5 years that they've been involved, somewhere in that area, and they've been terrific with us, and we thank them for the opportunity to continue to do more Sports and Les Levine. And as anybody knows in this business, you never know. You may wind up with somebody next to you, or somebody hiring you, or somebody doing it. You have it in the newspaper business, right? So
yeah, you just never know.
You never know. I've worked over the years with so many people that I used to work with, and it's an interesting cycle or circle of events. 216-575-0403 is the number to call, and Dan Lobby is here from cleveland.com covering the Browns. It's a lot more fun covering them this year, isn't it? Just from a personal standpoint.
It is. There's just it's not the same story every single week, and it's not showing up to whatever stadium,
11,
and just knowing what's going to happen that week, knowing the outcome.
Right.
There have been some clunkers, that Houston game, the Chargers game, but you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen when you walk in that stadium.
There's always clunkers. You just don't know when they're going to come about.
Yeah, and there aren't 16 of them this year,
as
opposed to years past.
And Baker has probably had one bad game and one bad half game. Is that a fair assessment of what he's done?
Yeah, I think so. And that game where he had the bad half, he bounced back and played a really good second half.
So from that standpoint, it was good lesson for him, I would guess.
Yeah, and then that's the life of an NFL quarterback, too. I mean, Tom Brady has had clunkers, right? Ben Roethlisberger, you go through the lists of guys who are headed to the Hall of Fame. They've had games where, like, what happened in that game? So.
Yeah, what you need to have happen is have him learn from it.
Exactly.
So that it doesn't happen again.
Exactly.
That's why if you see a quarterback or you see a team and say, well, they're no good, well, watch it 3 weeks from then. Watch them and see how much improvement there is.
Yeah, and the NFL is so random anymore. I mean, you think you know about a team after 6 weeks or 7 weeks, and then the next week they go out and they lose to a team they have no business losing to.
Absolutely.
So
well,
it's just a bizarre league.
That's what the league is built on, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what they want. They want you to go into every week having no idea what's going on. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers shouldn't lose to Cincinnati this weekend, but who knows? Yeah. I mean, maybe they will. Something will happen.
Strange things can happen. Although I looked at that team in about the middle of the third quarter, and I saw their body language on the bench. Had maybe 3 guys up on the sideline watching, and the rest of the guys just kind of sitting back and talking, and not talking about strategy for the remainder of the game. You could see saying the word quit is a hard thing to say, and you don't like to accuse anybody, but that team looked like it quit. Although they made a run late in the game, but
and
it wasn't real.
When you've got Jeff Driscoll playing quarterback, your backup quarterback, and you're losing to Cleveland again, you're out of the playoff chase. It felt, I mean, we've seen Browns teams like that over and over and over again. We've seen the Browns on the other side of that so many times.
I've always said football is the hardest game to get up for, because if there's something on the line, it's pretty easy to get you up. But if there's nothing on the line other than putting yourself on tape for some future team, it's tough to get 22 guys or 53 guys to buy into the same thing if there's nothing really at stake.
Yeah, a lot of guys make business decisions, if you want to call them that.
But that stuff's always on their resume.
Absolutely.
216-575-0403. If you want to get in for the final part of the show, you can do that right now. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. And this week, you can catch the excitement of live harness racing Wednesday through Sunday with 6 p.m. post time. Northfield Park open early every day for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. Dan Lobby and I return one more time on Spectrum as well as cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I had bad credit, so I wasn't able to get a bank account or a credit card.
My life is so busy, I don't have time to be standing in line to cash a check.
That's why we created the NetsBand Prepaid MasterCard. It puts you in control of managing your money.
I can get my money up to 2 days earlier than everybody else. I don't have to wait till the end of the week to get paid.
Order now at no cost and get paid up to 2 days faster.
Call 1-800-644-0772.
Call now and you can choose your card design.
Tomorrow night, Bud Shaw joins us from WKYC.com. That'll be Wednesday's show, then Thursday's show. Friday, Dave Bacon with his weekend update. That'll come your way on Friday. We will not be on the air Monday or Tuesday of next week, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. So we'll be back on, after tomorrow night's show, I'll be back on Wednesday. And that'll, as we get the new year started, and that, of course, will be exclusively on cleveland.com. Kevin writes in, I'm not sure where he's from. He says, I've read the Bengals are all in on Haskins and will try to draft him. As of right now, 6-10 record is not in the top 10. You don't know how it's going to shake out with a bunch of teams right now at 5-10. But that's probably a guy they'd want to get, right?
I would imagine, and they love to draft Ohio State players. We've seen that over the
Unlike
years.
the Browns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They love to draft Ohio State guys. I guess it would depend what they really believe about Andy Dalton moving forward, but I think Dwayne Haskins is probably going to go in the top 5 if he decides to declare.
I would think. Let's go to Rich, who's in Fair Lawn. Rich, good evening.
Hi, Les and Dan. How you doing?
We're doing well. Good. Wait, I'm doing well. How about
Good.
you?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Hear me out, okay?
Yeah.
If I was the coach of the Browns, I would start every freaking backup I had Sunday, because the guy that moved the Ravens to Baltimore is dead, and I still have to go to Walmart and see low-esteemed people wearing Steeler jackets, and I'm tired of it.
Well, if you don't play them in the game, you lose. And what are you saying, that you want Baltimore to beat out Pittsburgh, right?
Definitely.
So the Art Modell reference is that there's nothing that you can do by beating them. Listen, I'm still upset at him, and that's. Okay. Listen, I hate both of them. I just hate Art Modell's former team more because he stripped the team from us.
I agree,
but I get what you're saying.
Right. You got. We've hated them for years. I can't stand even looking at their uniforms.
Yeah, but the Baltimore thing, in those years after Modell took them, they actually won 2 Super Bowls. Yeah. One under him and one under Steve Bisciotti.
I understand that, but look at all the Steeler fans around Northeast Ohio.
I know, I hate it. I hate it as much as you do, but they ripped my heart out when they took my team to Baltimore.
I understand. But hear me out on this too. Greg Williams,
Yeah.
When he was coach of the Buffalo Bills, who was his quarterback? Was it Johnson?
Yeah,
I think so.
I believe at least 1 year it was. Yeah.
Okay. He never had a really good quarterback. Isn't the NFL, the coaches that are great have the franchise quarterback?
Yeah, but he's a defensive guy. The offense wouldn't be run by Greg Williams.
I'm just saying. I'm saying he never had that top-notch quarterback. And if I'm correct, in 1984 we hired a defensive coordinator to coach our team. We went to 3 straight championship games.
Yeah, you're talking about Marty Schottenheimer. It's a different game now.
Exactly.
It's a different game.
Well, he's got Kitchens. We have Lindy Infante back then. He's got Kitchens to run the offense. Don't you agree?
Did you hear of Kitchens a month ago?
Well, no, but
if I asked you a month ago, what do you know about?
I know one thing about Kitchens. I knew that he was a quarterback from Alabama, and Gene Stallings was his coach, and that's good pedigree right there. I did know about that.
Hear me out, Dan. This is not a place at this point in the franchise history to experiment on guys. right? This is a team that's expected to not only go to the playoffs, but expected to go high in the playoffs.
Well, I'll say I do think there is a case to be made for Freddie Kitchens, based on the fact that he has been in the NFL for a while. And like you said, we haven't heard about him here. He's a guy who's worked under Bill Parcells, worked under Bruce Arians, has coached quarterbacks. He kind of checks off some boxes when you start to look for young, offensive-minded guys. I believe he's 44 years old, has a good relationship with Baker. I think there's a case to be made, and maybe John Dorsey looks at him and sees the next Andy Reid type coach or the next Kyle Shanahan.
Or it might be.
It would certainly be a roll of the dice, though, to promote him to head coach at this point.
It wouldn't be out of the question to see him as offensive coordinator unless the guy you hire demands that he bring in his own, or I don't want him to demand that the new guy is the offensive coordinator. I think the job of head coach is too much to have that on your plate also.
Yeah, and I think you want to let a new head coach pick the guy that he wants to be his coordinator.
Right. Now they can request it. The Browns could request it.
Yeah, absolutely. They could talk to a guy and say, "Hey, how do you feel about Freddie Kitchens as your offensive coordinator?"
I don't know who he is.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Anything? You got about a minute. Anything you want to add to the proceedings that we've missed?
Well, I mean, for me personally, to that last caller, I understand the sentiment about maybe not wanting to see Pittsburgh in the playoffs, but I just think seeing this team go to Baltimore, and I don't know that they're going to be able to beat the Ravens anyway, seeing them go to Baltimore and finish the season by knocking the Ravens out of the playoffs.
That'd be great.
Look, the good news is you get to see Pittsburgh go and lose the next week or whatever. I don't think Pittsburgh's on their way to the Super Bowl. You'll get to see the Steelers lose. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You would get to see the Steelers lose at some point.
Well, it's going to be fun. It's not as if the Browns are actually in the playoffs, but they do control somebody's destiny, both two teams that we hate. And I guess that's what makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly. And this time next year, you might be talking about this team going to the playoffs.
All right, we got to go. Thanks to Dan Lobby of cleveland.com. We'll see you tomorrow night. We've got Bud Shaw coming from WKYC.com. And then that'll be our last show on Spectrum, and we will be seen exclusively on cleveland.com. We'll see you tomorrow night. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.